Hello and welcome to Foreign Dispatches, the program that takes you around the world in 25 minutes. I'm Teniola Shoboale. On the program this week, nations step up measures to fight Omicron variant, plus Barbados becomes a republic, removing the Queen as its head of state. Global concerns have been growing as infections related to the new highly transmissible Omicron COVID-19 variant continue to spread throughout the world, with a number of countries enforcing new control measures and entry bans. Omicron has been dubbed a variant of concern by the World Health Organization. It's potentially more contagious than previous variants of the disease, and scientists are scrambling to understand its mutations and find out why the current vaccines are effective against it.
Omicron's very emergence is another reminder that although many of us might think we're done with COVID-19, it's not done with us.
That was the head of World Health Organization after a frantic weekend of headlines about the new COVID Omicron variant. Global governments are racing to assess the risk of this new strain, which has already been detected in many countries. Scientists say it could take weeks, and some are preparing for the worst. Australia on Monday night, November 29th, delayed the reopening of its international borders less than 36 hours before international students and skilled migrants were due to be allowed to re-enter the country.
We will put a pause on the next phase of international arrivals, which would have commenced on the 1st of December. In particular, those arrivals with regards to the students and working visas and other related categories, which were going to commence on the 1st of December, will now commence on the 15th of December.
Israel and Japan have closed down their borders to foreigners as both countries confirm cases of the variant. Other countries are reimposing travel and social distancing measures. In the Netherlands, Dutch health officials said on Tuesday, November 30th, the Omicron variant was detected before 2 flights arrived from South Africa carrying the virus. At least 14 people on flights from Johannesburg and Cape Town arrived at Amsterdam's Schiphol airport on November 26 carrying the new variant.
One of the two had a travel history to Southern Africa, the other had not. This means that this person most likely picked the virus up, the Omicron variant up in the Netherlands. How the size of the chain of transmission is not known yet.
Brazilian health regulator Anvisa said on Tuesday that 2 Brazilians had tested positive for the Omicron COVID-19 variant, the first reported cases of the new strain in Latin America.
The
detection of the new Omicron variant cases in Brazil was only a question of time, as it will probably happen in various countries around the world, because it is a variant that is associated with high transmission.
As of Monday, there have been no known deaths directly linked to Omicron, but countries are not taking any chances, imposing restrictions and announcing new measures. Canada will be requiring people arriving by air to take COVID-19 tests, but that excludes U.S. flights. Despite U.S. travel restrictions in southern Africa, President Joe Biden says he does not intend to shock allies by reinstituting travel restrictions in them.
Well, it kind of depends. It's going week to week here to determine what we need and what the state of affairs. We're going to learn a lot more in the next couple weeks about the lethality of this virus, about how much it spreads, about whether what we have can control it, etc. So it'll depend on those issues.
President Trump instituted the travel restrictions. It was a real shock to European allies. Are you committed to?
Unlike Trump, I don't shock our allies.
In its own response, Russia says it will quarantine people coming from countries with high Omicron risk.
There is a special testing in the airports for residents from countries with high Omicron variant risk to date. First of all, from South Africa and neighboring African countries, China, UK and some other countries which reported finding the new variant.
For Londoners, it is a welcome development, the reintroduction of face coverings on public transport and in shops in England in a bid to curb the spread of the new Omicron coronavirus variant. Commuters in central London said it was right to be cautious until more was known about the new variant.
I think it's a good thing. I'd rather have a nice Christmas than not. Obviously, I want to go home and see my family, and if I have to wear a mask, that's absolutely fine. I didn't stop wearing mine anyway, so it's fine with me.
Vaccine makers, including Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and Pfizer's partner BioNTech, have said they're already working on new vaccines specially targeted to Omicron in case the current crop proves ineffective.
Meanwhile, in South Africa, in the region where the strain was first reported to the World Health Organization, a Columbia University disease expert is advising the government that vaccines should still offer strong protection against the new strain.
The Omicron coronavirus variant detected in Southern Africa could be the most likely candidate to displace the highly contagious Delta variant. That's according to Andrew Puren, the acting executive director of South Africa's National Institute for Communicable Diseases.
We thought, what will outcompete Delta? I think that's always been the question. What will outcompete Delta, in terms of transmissibility at least?
The discovery of Omicron has caused global alarm, with countries limiting travel from Southern Africa for fear it could spread quickly, even in vaccinated populations, and the World Health Organization saying it carries a high risk of infection. If Omicron proves even more transmissible than the Delta variant, it could lead to a sharp spike in infections that could put pressure on hospitals. Puren said scientists should know within 4 weeks to what extent Omicron can evade the immunity generated by vaccines or prior infection, and whether it leads to worse clinical symptoms than other variants. Anecdotal accounts by doctors who have treated South African COVID-19 patients say Omicron appears to be producing mild symptoms, including a dry cough, fever, and night sweats, but experts have cautioned against drawing firm conclusions. Puren said it was too early to say whether Omicron was displacing Delta in South Africa. Anne von Gottberg, a clinical microbiologist at the NICD, said it looked like infections were rising throughout the country, but cautioned against linking that with Omicron just yet.
In fact, and some of those admissions might have started before we think the emergence of Omicron, and we also seen that there was an increase in influenza cases in South Africa just in the last month or so. And so we need to really be careful to look at the other respiratory infections and other respiratory diseases to work out why were children being admitted, were they being tested as they were being admitted, or was it precautionary?
Leaders in Southern Africa have criticized swift travel restrictions by the United States and other nations as unfair and crippling to their tourism and other sectors.
Away from the COVID-19 pandemic, Barbados has officially removed Queen Elizabeth II as its head of state and becomes the world's newest republic. In an overnight ceremony in the capital Bridgetown, Sandra Mason was sworn in as president. The Prince of Wales and singer Rihanna attended the event, which coincided with the country's 55th anniversary of independence.
And with firm resolve and in one voice, from this day and forever, declare Barbados a parliamentary republic.
That was the moment Barbados ditched Britain's Queen Elizabeth as head of state on Tuesday and became the world's newest republic. A 21-gun salute fired as the national anthem played over a crowd in the capital Bridgetown. Prince Charles stood somberly as the Queen's royal standard was lowered and Dame Sandra Mason was sworn in as the new president.
Possessing a clear sense of who we are and what we are capable of achieving, in the year 2021, we now turn our vessel's bow towards the new republic. We do this so that we may seize the full substance of our sovereignty.
Prince Charles used his speech to acknowledge the darkest days of Britain's colonial past.
I was so deeply touched that you should have invited me to return to Barbados and to join you on behalf of the Queen at this moment of such significance for your remarkable nation. The creation of this republic offers a new beginning, but it also marks a point on a continuum, a milestone on the long road you have not only travelled, but which you have built. From the darkest days of our past and the appalling atrocity of slavery, which forever stains our history.
As part of celebrations, Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who led Barbados' Republican movement, declared singer Rihanna, who is a Barbadian, a national hero.
This is a day that I would never ever forget. It's also a day that I never saw coming. Barbadians are proud people, you know? We are probably the proudest people I know. And no matter where I go in the world, I take that pride with me.
The birth of the Republic comes 55 years to the day since Barbados declared independence and nearly 400 years since the first English ship reached the Caribbean islands' shores and claimed it for King James I. On Tuesday during the day, many Barbadians wore blue and yellow to mark their Independence Day, now upgraded from their original split from British governance in 1966.
I am very happy that Barbados has shed its ties with the British monarchy. I believe that after 55 years, I think that it was the right thing for us to do.
I think it makes me feel as a more responsible citizen that we're responsible for our own destiny now. I mean, the Queen, she was our head of state for so many years, but being a republic now, it means that we're responsible for our own destiny and charting our own course.
Barbados will remain a republic within the Commonwealth, a grouping of 54 countries across Africa, Asia, the Americas and Europe.
Let's head over to Turkey now, where the country faced extreme weather over the week after deadly storms hit the country on Monday. Experts link the unusually adverse weather to climate change and warn that such storms could hit the country again in the future.
On Monday, November 29, at least 4 people, including a foreign national, were killed and at least 19 others injured in Istanbul as extreme winds battered Turkey's biggest city and its surrounding regions. The governor's office in a statement said that the wild weather caused at least 2 lorries to overturn, blocking traffic on a busy highway in Istanbul. Video footage showed one driver stranded in the vehicle as nearby people rushed to help. According to Turkey's weather service, winds of up to 130 kilometers per hour hit the city, ripping off roofs and tearing down signboards as rising seas flooded streets and waves crashed along the shores of the Bosphorus. Security camera footage captured the shocking moment when debris was torn from a building by high winds and fell on pedestrians in the Kagitan district. Video shows one pedestrian narrowly escaping, but a woman and a child were flattened as shopkeepers and passers-by rushed to their aid. Another security camera footage caught the terrifying moment of a man narrowly escaping from concrete falling from a rooftop in Turkey's western city of Izmir. Pieces of concrete believed to have been dislodged by high winds fell from a building undergoing reconstruction, and the man ducked out of the way seconds before the concrete smashed into a car he had been leaning against. Several cargo ships have been grounded on the shores of Marmara Sea in Istanbul's Kartal district after the extreme winds drove them off their moorings. One moored vessel had sunk with only the superstructure visible above water on Tuesday. Turkey's flag carrier, Turkish Airlines, also reported disruptions to its flight schedule, while the Bosphorus shore was later closed to shipping. The weather agency says extreme conditions are expected in nearby provinces like the western coastal city of Izmir.
When Foreign Dispatches returns in just a moment, despite the fears of the Omicron variant, Santa is coming to town as countries around the world kick off the Christmas season. Please stay with us. You're still watching Foreign Dispatches on Channels Television. Nigeria's pavilion at the Expo 2020 Dubai is hosting more events at the ongoing exhibition. To further strengthen the country's participation, the Federal Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mariam Katagum, visits the Women's Pavilion, where she highlights the challenges women face, as well as the need for better financial literacy for them. Our correspondent, Mayowa Adegoke, has more.
Nigeria's Federal Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mariam Katagum, addressing a cross-section of women at the ongoing Expo 2020.
Let me start by using a quote which is popular, at least in Nigeria, that if you educate a man, you educate a man. However, when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. This popular saying should motivate people around the world to strive for the education of the female child.
In her paper on women in economic development, commerce and industry, she highlights issues women face across the globe and in particular Nigeria, harping on the importance of access to facilities that boost trade.
To take advantage of the age of digitization, they need to have adequate access to internet services. So more programs need to be instituted to raise awareness on the lucrative potential of the internet and e-commerce.
Of the over 41 million micro, small and medium enterprises in Nigeria, 41% is owned by 23 million women. However, many of them do not have access to loan facilities, nor do they have enough financial literacy. Corporate Nigeria is said to have only 12% female representation in senior leadership positions. Average labor force participation for women is at 49%. Unpaid domestic labor by women may account for as much as 10 to 39% of the GDP, according to the United Nations. Also, Nigeria has a record of only 6.7 female representation in high political and appointed positions. The issues are numerous and all lead to no good end for women. The minister says the Nigerian government is taking steps in the right direction, including leveraging the Expo 2020 to attract investors.
Nigeria has diversified away from oil. We've gone into commodities. So in terms of food, we have a lot of opportunities to process, package, whether air freight, fresh fruits and vegetables, various food products that are processed. We also have services. There's a lot to be derived here from services. IT services as well, particularly, as I mentioned, e-commerce. A lot can happen between Nigeria and Dubai. Already I know there's quite a number of Nigerian entrepreneurs that are doing business here, but this expo will provide an opportunity to expand the horizon and expanding it beyond the UAE, because practically all countries of the world are here in this expo.
Minister Katagum's appearance at the Women's Pavilion is part of the Visions and Journeys series.
She gave us a very good understanding and insight into why women's economic empowerment is so critical to creating a more peaceful, a more prosperous, a more sustainable world.
Themed Connecting Minds, Creating the Future, Expo 2020 will run till March 2022.
And finally, Christmas season is officially kicked off as countries around the world decorate and show off colorful adornment. Well, let's begin by taking a look inside the White House.
The White House on Monday unveiled this year's Christmas decorations based on the theme Gifts from the Heart. This year, the traditional White House gingerbread house in the state dining room included additional buildings that honored frontline workers and first responders for their contributions during the COVID-19 pandemic.
How are you? Oh, thank you.
U.S. First Lady Jill Biden helped mark the start of the Christmas holiday season by reading a children's book she had written to help little ones understand what it feels like to grow up in a military family.
The Bidens are a military family, and my dad was in the Navy, and he fought in World War II, and my son was Army. So when my son was away, my granddaughter, just like you kids, really, really missed her daddy. So I wrote this book to tell other kids, because there's lots of kids who don't know what it's like to be a military kid, right? Or to have somebody in the military.
The First Lady wished a Merry Christmas to the children, who were then treated with a brief holiday musical performance with puppets. This year marks the first White House Christmas for the Bidens since taking office. The custodian of the Holy Land, Father Francesco Patton, launched the Christmas season in the West Bank on Saturday with a visit to Bethlehem, regarded by Christians as the birthplace of Jesus. Patton's arrival in the biblical town marks the beginning of the festive season of Advent, when millions of Christians around the world make their preparations for Christmas on December 25. From one of the world's COVID-19 hotspots to a postcard perfect picture of a golden Christmas, Brazilians in Rio de Janeiro are not letting the threat of the variant dampen their festive season. With Santa figurines gracing the cobblestone sidewalk of Ipanema and throngs topping up their tans on the sand, it is a far cry from Christmas 2020, when the South American country was grappling with a tide of infections and deaths. German Santas are hoping to bring good cheer to the country despite coronavirus restrictions. Ringing their bells and singing carols, a group of Germans dressed as Santas and Christmas angels gathered in Berlin, keen to spread joy and practice their ho-ho-hos despite the coronavirus restrictions. France's most emblematic Christmas fair has opened in Strasbourg after being cancelled last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This year, hand sanitizers are side by side with hot chocolate and wine. With lights up a big, beautiful tree, American and German visitors also visit the fair, which sold traditional Christmas decorations, candles, and other holiday items. At the Jardin des Plantes in Paris, in an exhibition that opened to the public on November 29th, dinosaurs and long-extinct sea creatures light up like giant Christmas lanterns. The exhibition, entitled Evolution on the Path of Lights, is a trip back to prehistoric times, as far back as 600 million years ago. The exhibition, the third of its kind at the Jardin des Plantes, runs from November 29th to January 30th. In Russia, famous ice rink in the Red Square opened for the 16th time with a colorful show on Sunday featuring 2006 Olympics winner Tatiana Navak. The rink is a seasonal addition to the famed location where the Soviet Union's founder Vladimir Lenin is buried and has delighted skaters every winter since 2005. And finally, in Spain, the country turned on its Christmas lights on Friday, November 26, to mark the start of the season and spread cheer despite global COVID surge. In southern Malaga, thousands gathered on Friday at La Rios Street to watch the lights as touristic Barcelona lightened up its streets with colorful fountains. In Madrid, the installation of 11 million lights was budgeted at 3.6 million euros, around 11% more than the year before.
And that's Foreign Dispatches this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Tenyola Shoboale. Bye for now.